Eric, I've heard you use the phrase flip the risk. And I think it was in the context of talking with some of our clients and prospects about third-party support. Can you share a little bit about what those conversations entail?
Sure. So, I think there's a common misperception, at least at first, when going to a third party to do support, that is going to be more a risk than staying with the vendor. And what I mean by flip the risk is showing people that they are at much more risk with a vendor-provided support than they are from Rimini Street. Say, for example, on how we address things like security, right? I think traditional ways of doing security is through a patching methodology, right? Where you wait for the vendor to put out a patch, you maybe patch once a year or twice a year, you put it in the development environment, then you have to put it in the test environment, do all the regression testing, fix everything the patches break, and then you eventually get into production. Meanwhile, you are vulnerable the entire time by the time that patch gets into production. And that's one way to do it, of course. Mm-hmm. But we have preferred ways that do security in a robust way, that does it quickly with in-memory kind of drop-in rules so that you can update and virtually patch everything in your landscape with a push of a button almost immediately. No downtime, no regression testing, no backing things out, no breaking things that the patches fix. So you get a quick way of mitigating risk without all the traditional ways of doing that, right? So if you are at risk with a patching model of being vulnerable in production for all of that entire time, that's quite of a risky proposition in my mission critical system to be vulnerable in that time when I can do things more in real time with the Rimini Street methodology.
Yeah, that's very interesting. So that's one of the risks they perceive. What's another one that they have that they think, how could a third party provide break-fix support for something they didn't write or author?
Yeah, so we have the best engineers in the world all over that come from either these vendors or from consulting organizations that can fix almost any problem that you can think of. Most of the time when a system breaks, this is some of the most robust software in the world, just hundreds of thousands of lines of code, If it breaks, it's usually because there was a configuration or some sort of data situation that was presented and was never tested for.
Right, a corner case. It had never happened before.
It's never happened before. So we just go in there and fix those configurations, fix those data issues. And many times the patches that are provided by vendors are just automated configuration changes. But it looks magical under the case, but it's just doing an automated case. But another thing I think where people find is that we've got to wait for those vendors to write the patch and apply it so that we can get it into our systems to fix the issue. That gives a company a lot of risk to wait all that time to put in those patches to fix those issues. And many times those patches come with a whole bunch of stuff, then you only just want that one thing to fix your one issue, and all this other stuff now has a risk and volatility of breaking other things. So we approach this completely different. We log in to our customer's environment and we fix the issue right then and there when they give us a call, and we don't have to wait to go through all of those things with the patches. Another thing I think is interesting is that if you look at these software vendors, they only provide a break-fix support. It takes this much to actually run an enterprise system. And they're only going to provide break-fix support if they determine it's even their issue in the first place. They're not going to support the customizations. They're not going to support integrations. They're not going to support scripts and automations. They're not going to help you with your tax and legal and regulatory updates. Right? They're not going to give you advisory and road mapping services on what to do next. They're not going to have access to, leading advisors from all over the world. There's ex-CISOs, ex-CIOs that you can get world-renowned advice for to help you in your ERP journey and your road mapping. Rimini Street does all of that. It's the complete circle to do that. So where are you at most risk?
Yeah, so what you're saying in that case is that Rimini Street services mitigate risk because you have all of that expertise at the ready, available to you, that would probably be hard, if not impossible, to get engagement with on the vendor side, where they're just waiting for the next bug to be reported.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll give you one more. When you are under vendor-provided support, you must adhere to a certification matrix.
Yes.
Right? So you can only use these operating systems, these web browsers, these Java versions, these databases and database versions. So you are stuck. But what happens if your organization is going in a different direction? What if you need to upgrade or go to a different? There's a risk associated with being stuck, of not being able to do that. And if you call that vendor and you're not compliant with that certification matrix, no support. That's a huge risk for organizations that need the agility to make decisions and use the technology that they need to use. At Rimini Street, we provide the freedom to use whatever technology that you want. Not only do you have to not worry about us hanging up the phone on you, we're going to give you the technology that's going to give you the freedom to use whatever tech that you want, and we'll support it along the way 24 hours a day. So talk about a liberation and talk about a least risk model when you're with a third-party support provider.
Yeah, so you're talking about this Rimini Connect solution that allows existing software, whatever it was certified on, to work with maybe more modern operating system versions. And you may have to do that. You may have another application in your portfolio that was only certified on the latest.
That's right.
But that ERP, 5-7 years old, is not unusual, right? And so to be able to, put down the latest operating system across your enterprise and make sure that, hey, your older ERP still works with it, that's what we do with Rimini Connect.
Yeah. And how horrible of a situation is it that the IT folk comes in and says, we've got to upgrade the browsers, and now we've got to go through a 2-year-long upgrade just to be compatible with a browser or just to be compatible with an operating system? What a horrible, risky situation that those customers are in because they have to do that. With Rimini Street, this problem is solved and it's all available to our customers.
Yeah. Now, I think one of the riskiest endeavors that we see ERP clients undertaking is a major upgrade, a major replatforming, or what might be called a migration. So let's talk about how Rimini Street mitigates those risks.
Right. So again, the risk with being on the vendor is that you must get off of certain versions by a certain date.
Yeah.
And if you're not, regardless if you pay for support or not, they're not going to answer the call. What a horrible situation they have to be into. With Rimini Street, what's nice about that is that those end-of-life dates don't apply to our customers. And we can support them for years and years and years and years in whatever version that they want and not force them to do these extremely massive, extremely disruptive, and extremely expensive projects, whether that is an upgrade or in many cases these days, it's a complete replatforming of their entire on-premise to a software as a subscription-based model. And when you do that, you abandon your license, right? Your perpetual license that you bought 20 years ago, that's yours in forever. But now they're going to force you to rebuy the software all over again into a software as a service model. The costs are going to get completely out of control, re-implement it all into that environment in a locked-in particular model, and you've lost all your customizations. How horrible. Want to talk about risk? Where's your risk? That is a huge risky model when you're under those kinds of vendor pressures to re-platform things all over again.
Yeah, let's look at risk of what can happen with mission critical software. Like if it goes down, downtime, hugely expensive, right? We've got to prevent downtime. What have you seen from the vendor model versus the Rimini Street model in terms of responsiveness and getting things fixed?
Absolutely. And that's really the model that we want to try is not only the significant cost savings that we have, but a significant increase in response time when it comes to fixing issues. When people in general call a vendor for a problem, they'll get back to you whenever they get back to you. You've got to explain your situation. You've got to explain, I'm on this version, I have this configuration, I'm running this, I'm doing this. Then you've got to wait for the next level of engineer and the next level of engineer. You're constantly escalating, trying to get this done. And you're right, every second counts. And it's not just that the whole system's down. If it's just anything less than 100% available, it can have massive implications on our customers' bottom line, right? Goods don't ship. People don't get paid. These are really big issues. At Rimini Street, when someone opens up a high severity case with us, we have engineers rolling up their sleeves, ready to log in to our customer's environment and firefight that in an average of 90 seconds. 24 hours a day, all over the world, in almost any language you can speak. That is the only way that you can adequately support mission critical systems.
That's one of the things I'm really proud to say. I'm a Rimini Street employee because of those kinds of very customer focused policies, procedures, but it even gets down to systems. Hiring policies of what kind of engineers have earned the right to become a Rimini Street support engineer. And then the systems we put in place, including some proprietary AI-based applications that help make sure that we get the right expert on the right case at the right time to get that thing fixed and reduce that downtime.
And that decision's
prevent it at all.
And that decision's made in about 3 seconds.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Eric. Appreciate it.
Thank you.